232 years ago, George Washington did what he did best. He set a precedent. What he did was proclaimed neutrality to the French Revolution and all other wars concerning not just Britain and France, but literally everybody. News that revolutionary France had declared war on Great Britain in February 1793, and with this declaration that France, by the country's own volition, was now at war with all of Europe, did not reach America until the first half of April that year. President Washington was at Mount Vernon, attending the funeral of a nephew when he was given the news. He was hurried back to Pennsylvania and summoned a cabinet meeting on the 19th. It was unanimously agreed to issue a proclamation forbidding citizens to take part in any hostilities in the sea on behalf or against any of the belligerent powers. Washington's cabinet members all agreed that neutrality was essential. The nation was too young and its military too small to risk any sort of engagement with either France or Britain. Secretary of State and future President Thomas Jefferson, in particular, saw in this question the influence of the Federalists, his political rivals. Yet he too agreed a proclamation was in order, though perhaps not an official one. In a cabinet meeting of January 14, Thomas Jefferson argued that while neutrality was essential, there was no real need to make a proclamation of neutrality, either immediately or even officially. Perhaps there might be no need for an official declaration at all. The United States could declare its neutrality for a price. Jefferson intimated, why not stall and make countries bid for neutrality? In response, Secretary of the Treasury Alexander Hamilton declared that American neutrality was non negotiable. Jefferson eventually resigned from his duty as Secretary of State in disagreement with the Proclamation of Neutrality. This proclamation was in fact constitutional, for while Congress has a sole right to declare war, it is the duty of the executive to preserve peace till the war is declared. This proclamation did not violate the 1778 Treaty of Defense alliance with France, as the Democratic Republicans were claiming. The treaty, Hamilton pointed out, was a defensive alliance and did not apply to offensive wars. By siding with France in the Revolution, the United States would have left itself open to attacks within the American borders by the governments of Great Britain and Spain. Future President James Madison wrote 5 essays on the topic. He brought to light the strict constructionist view of both the Constitution and the Proclamation, demanding that Congress, not the President, had full authority over all foreign affairs except those areas specified in the Constitution, which he wrote. The official wording of the proclamation is as forward. Whereas it appears that a state of war exists between Austria, Prussia, Sardinia, Great Britain, and the United Netherlands of the one part, and France on the other, and the duty and interest of the United States require that they should with sincerity and good faith adopt and pursue a conduct friendly and impartial towards the belligerent powers. I have therefore thought fit by these presents to declare the disposition of the United States to observe the conduct aforesaid towards those powers respectively, and to exhort and warn the citizens of the United States carefully to avoid all acts and proceedings whatsoever which may in any manner tend to contravene such disposition. And I do hereby also make known that whosoever of the citizens of the United States shall render himself liable to punishment or forfeiture under the law of nations by committing, aiding, or abetting hostilities against any of the said powers, or by carrying to any of those articles which are deemed contraband by the modern usage of nations, will not receive the protection of the United States against such punishment or forfeiture. And further, that I have given instructions to those officers to whom it belongs to cause prosecutions to be instituted against all persons who shall, with the cognizance of the court of the United States, violate the law of nations with respect to the powers at war or any of them. In testimony whereof I have caused the seal of the United States of America to be affixed to these presents, and signed the same with my hand, done at the city of Philadelphia, the 22nd day of April, 1793, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 17th. And even though the Neutrality Proclamation isn't really in effect anymore, unlike the Neutrality Proclamation of 1914 and the Neutrality Acts of the 1930s, Washington didn't go back on his word, keeping the Neutrality Proclamation after he had finished his presidency. 30 years later, James Monroe, who was the minister to France during all of this, issued the Monroe Doctrine, effectively saying getting out of North America from European powers, and the United States will not interfere in European affairs.